Even though Team Fortress started out as a Quake mod originally, it goes back much further than that, as the series was inspired by an old Doom map called Fortress.wad. So what do you get when you're trying to bring TF2 back to its roots? That's the same question a TF2 fan had around 2010, and which he answered with the introduction of the Doom Fortress mod. A mod which attempts to recreate the TF2 experience within the limitations of the Doom engine. But is it any good? Well, I'm so glad you've asked, Sonny Jim. The mod allows you to play as the 9 classes from TF2 in Doom. It can be played in single player just like any other Doom mod. Where it really shines, however, is the multiplayer. Now, the whole thing runs in Skulltag, but no one actually plays it anymore because Skulltag got discontinued and replaced with Zandronum a while ago. But the mod still works with Zandronum and is super easy to set up. You will likely not find any people playing it online though. However, you can still use Skulltag's boards, which work surprisingly well at times. The only issue is their AI, especially the buggy pathfinding. And they also can't seem to switch weapons or even use their alternate modes like detonating stickies. The mod itself makes some slight changes to the gameplay. The weapons and pickups from Doom were altered. You can't pick up weapons anymore, instead they're all ammo kits ranging from medium to huge. There's no small one though. That also means you will run into an ammo problem if you play in single player, as certain weapons and ammo simply don't appear. So I would advise turning on infinite ammo for that. The ammo kits themselves received new sprites as well as the flags for the CTF mode, making them look more like the intelligence from TF2.
Blue flag taken.
All weapons need to be reloaded except for ones like the minigun and the flamethrower, etc. You can also taunt in Skulltag, and doing that in this mod plays a random voice line from the classes. Other than that, the biggest changes come in form of the classes. The Scout, like in TF2, is the fastest class. He can't double jump and doesn't even jump higher, but due to his speed he can jump further at least. Instead of a scattergun, he has a force of nature, called Sword Off in the game. It has 2 light shots or 1 big shot which does twice the damage as a light one. He also gets a pistol which fires faster than the standard Doom pistol, and a Sandman which is a pretty weak melee. The ball was replaced with a Khaki Demon, but although it's funny, it barely does any damage and is likely just a placeholder. The Soldier gets the standard Doom rocket launcher, which is pretty strong. You can even rocket jump with it as the self damage is reduced. He also has a shotgun like the one in Doom, as well as a shovel. The Pyro has a flamethrower. It does tons of damage, which is pretty great for WM1, and it can even set enemies on fire, which plays a unique burning death animation. It even has an air blast that's way too strong. It can air blast not only projectiles, but also enemies and teammates. I would like to see the comp strats for that. He also receives a shotgun as well, though in older versions it used to be a flare gun. Not sure why it was taken out, likely because it was just too weak. The Pyro is the only class without a melee weapon, and I'm not sure why. Maybe they just couldn't find a good axe sprite. The Demo Man gets a grenade launcher, which is pretty self-explanatory. He also gets a sticky launcher, and you can even detonate the stickies, allowing you to sticky jump. The problem is that reloading and detonating is the same button, so if you just want to reload, you'll blow up all of his stickies. You can even place them in the air, which is just a glitch however. As his melee weapon, he gets the Eyelander, aka Cursed Sword. He can even charge forward like with a charge and touch from TF2, which insta-kills most classes. But it can only recharge while the weapon is active, and since melee is not that good in Doom anyway, it's pretty useless for the most part. Like Soldier, the Heavy plays the most like his TF2 counterpart. He has a minigun aka Meat Grinder. You can rev it up, but not shoot while revving up, you need to let go of mouse 2 first. It is very powerful though, even at long distances. He also gets a shotgun as well as fists. The Engineer is the most interesting and complex class in my opinion. He gets a shotgun, pistol and pipe wrench, but he can also build buildings selected via different remotes. The Sentry works just like the one in TF2 with all 3 levels, and it even fires rockets and doesn't target teammates. The Dispenser dispenses health and ammo and does it pretty quickly like a level 2 dispenser from TF2. The Teleporter teleports you instantly and barely needs to recharge. You can even use it to get out of maps because you can place it outside of bounds, even though you yourself can't go there. The Sentry is the only building that can be upgraded however, and it needs all the metal for it. Considering metal is really scarce, upgrading is gonna take way too long unless you have a dispenser. Also, if you stand or run inside the Sentry while it upgrades, it just vanishes. That's a pretty annoying bug. Hauling buildings is also not possible, but considering they build instantly, it's only really a problem if you have no metal. Oh, and you can even stand on top of your buildings as if getting out of bounds wasn't easy enough already. The Medic regenerates his HP just like in TF2, and he can also heal others, obviously. He gets a nail gun, which is surprisingly strong, way more than in TF2, and it's actually a pretty viable option to play through Doom with it. He also has a circular saw, aka the Uber saw, even though it's really not one, which works just like the chainsaw from Doom. It is the most useful melee weapon overall in my opinion, even though melee isn't really all that important in the mod. The Minigun is incredibly powerful as well, as it heals very quickly. He can also overheal and even has a slight lock on to make aiming easier. You can even heal yourself with it if you point it at the floor or the walls. I'm not sure if that's a bug, but I'm guessing it is. You need to shoot it at your patient, but if you don't hit anyone, you don't lose it. The problem is, however, it doesn't actually make you invulnerable. Why? I have no clue. It makes no sense because Doom has an invulnerability item. An even bigger issue is, however, that you can heal and even übercharge enemies. Not even just enemy teammates, but also Doom's demons. It is a pretty huge bug, but it will never get patched because the mod is effectively dead. The sniper has a sniper rifle, aka the sniper railgun. It has zoom and even a laser sight like in TF2. It can headshot though, so no quickscoping here. But it can also charge, with fully charged shots killing all of the classes. It works mostly like the Machina from TF2. It leaves a trail behind and can also pierce through enemies, but it can also shoot without being zoomed in. It is in my opinion the most overpowered weapon in the mod due to being hit scan. The sniper also gets a crossbow. It shoots pretty slowly, does barely any damage and is pretty useless for the most part. He also has a machete, which is faster than the Sandwind but slower than the saw, making it the second fastest melee in the mod. It does barely any damage though, making it not really useful like most melee weapons. The Spy is the second most interesting and complex class. He has a plasma bolter which replaces the revolver. It is highly accurate and can even be perfectly accurate if you just time your shots. It also does a ton of damage, which makes it very useful, especially because it's hit scan. The Spy also has a knife, which is very fast but doesn't do much damage. But you can backstab enemies with it, insta-killing them, as well as teammates, but it doesn't really do anything. It is the most powerful melee weapon if you know what you're doing, but you're likely going to die before reaching the enemy. The Spy can also disguise himself as his enemies. It might work well against human players, but it never fools the bots. Attacking or switching weapons also cancels your disguise, so you gotta be really sure which weapon you want to use after disguising. Spy can also go invisible, but it doesn't fool the bots either. It works like the cloak and dagger. The cloak only drains while moving and recharges while not cloaked. It drains really quickly though and can even be refilled with ammo. It's sadly very useless for the most part unless you're camping, but who wants to do that? You can also cancel it by attacking, which would be a great, though annoying addition to TF2 as well. Fun fact, I played this mod before even playing TF2 and I thought the Spy's invisibility in TF2 worked just like the one in this mod. I never even knew about the cloak and dagger back then. To be honest, Spy is the worst class if you just play against bots or Doom's enemies. It might be a lot better if you play against humans, but I can't really say that because no one ever plays this mod. Even without the TF2 reference, the different classes put a new spin on the game. It reminds me a lot of Hexen, where you could also choose between different characters with different abilities. Although it was made with primarily multiplayer in mind, it still works well in single player. Every single player level plays differently depending on which class you picked. You could play through Doom with each class and it would still feel fresh every time. I know that's all because of TF2's excellent character designs that they just copied in this mod, however they did do a great job of recreating them and keeping their roles mostly intact. Skulltech also has a wave-based invasion mode called Impending Nightmare, which plays amazingly well with the engineer and feels a lot like tower defense or even MVM at times. The only problems I have are with the balancing. As I've said, Spy is pretty useless and things like the Minigun and teleporters are also very broken and can lead to reefing. All the classes are also incredibly overpowered, but ironically, because everyone is way too powerful, it almost evens out like the heroes in Overwatch. Though some adjustments really have to be made, otherwise it's just a huge mess. Things like the melee weapons should be readjusted and Pyro should finally get one. It will also be nice if the classes received sprites that separated the meta from each other, as they look all a bit samey aside from Heavy and Medic perhaps. However, the mod will likely never be updated anymore. But even considering that, the problems don't make it unplayable. If you don't take the whole thing too seriously and just look at it as a cute mod for in-between, then it works perfectly well. The most important question though, is the mod good? Yes, it is. It's actually a lot of fun to play. It is not as amazing as Team Fortress 2, but it's definitely one of my favorite Doom mods of all time and I can only recommend it. You'll likely not play it as often as, let's say, Brutal Doom. But if you don't mind the brain-dead Skulltech bots or just wondered what the mercenaries would do if they were in the Doom guys' shoes, then this is a perfect mod for you. If you're interested, I've put all the necessary links in the description. That includes Zandronum or Skulltech, whichever one you prefer, the mod itself, as well as a free Doom mod if you don't have Doom yourself. There will also be instructions on how to use the mod in the comments. And if you're wondering about the map I've been playing in this video, yes, you saw correctly, it's 2-Fort and I made it all myself in Doom Builder. The link for it is also in the description and I might also do a quick showcase video of the map in the future. It's balanced around the very broken AI of the bots, so if it looks and plays differently, that's just to ensure the bots can actually navigate it. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like if you like. If you want to support me, please do it via my Patreon. A few people support me on there already, including Lasse Soybjerg, LECT Kane and Xenomite. I'm reading all of their names this time because I changed my reward tiers on Patreon to make them a little bit more affordable for most people. But whether you donate on Patreon or just watch my videos and perhaps even subscribe, I appreciate all the support I get. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, have a wonderful day and goodbye.